Every week at Bullseye, we like to leave you with a recommendation from the host. And with Jesse away, it's my turn. It's The Outshot. In the interview with Sid, we talked about the films Get Out and Attack the Block, which were both fun movies that use horror and science fiction to talk about race and class. What works with both films is their ability to present truths. Truths that for some can feel more unsettling than the goriest scenes in a Saw movie, in part because the probability of finding oneself in a racially uncomfortable situation is higher than finding oneself in some weird basement murder game. Get Out takes real tensions and plays them out to their most horrifying extremes. But this isn't an outshot for Get Out. It's for another film that I was reminded of as I left the theater. The 1972 Blaxploitation thriller The Thing with Two Heads, starring NFL defensive tackle Rosie Greer and Oscar winner Ray Milland.
It seemed like a good idea at the time. The white bigot was dying, and the black soul brother needed time to prove his innocence.
More power to you, brother.
I want to transplant my head on a healthy body.
I think I'd like to donate my body to science after all.
So they transplanted the white head onto the black body. Who would have suspected that neither would care for the idea too much?
Now, blaxploitation films have a complicated place in history. The film genre as a whole is often derided for presenting stereotypical images of black people, but their origins have been rooted in the idea that movie studios did not see people of color as having stories worth telling. And rather than sit idly by, black filmmakers like Melvin Van Peebles and Gordon Parks Jr. decided to create their own lane. Many of the films were a direct response to that dismissiveness by the studios. A lot of them were white films kind of remade with black leads. The 1972 film Hitman was a remake of 1971's Get Carter, starring Bernie Casey in place of Michael Caine. The Warren Beatty romantic comedy Shampoo was turned into Black Shampoo, with John Daniels starring as a hairstylist who defends his loved ones with a chainsaw. It's a little different. The Thing with Two Heads takes as its inspiration the incredible Two-Headed Transplant, where Bruce Dern plays a mad scientist who attaches a serial killer's head onto another man's body. If it sounds like a schlocky B-movie, it is. But unlike the original, The Thing with Two Heads speaks to something deeper. In it, the head of a prejudiced white doctor is fused onto the body of a wrongfully accused black man, and their only hope for survival comes from a black doctor played by Land of the Giants' Don Marshall.
Williams, I got a proposition for you. This transplant has made medical history. Now we should work together. Just you and me.
You and me?
Look, you work with me on this, and I'll make it up to you. Just you and me. We'll take all the credit for what we've done here.
What about Dr. Desmond?
Philip? Oh, he's an excellent surgeon. But I see a more promising future with you.
You actually feel that I could take credit for something with which I had very little to do?
I don't understand you.
The reason you don't understand, Doctor, is because you're a bigot. A bigot of the highest caliber. And because of that, you have underestimated me and my intelligence.
Williams, if you cut off my head, that'll be murder.
But it's okay for you to cut off my head, is that right?
Williams, I'm warning you.
Listen, Kirshner, I've heard enough to convince me that this man is innocent. And that you have no right to his body.
Then you're going to help me?
Yes.
Like Get Out and Attack the Block, it subverts its genre. The monster in the movie isn't some ghastly creature or serial killer. It's an ideology or belief that invisibly does more damage than a monster ever could. Of course, The Thing with Two Heads isn't nearly as nuanced or artful as Get Out, and the clumsy messaging can make it kind of ridiculous, too. It's one of the only movies I can think of where a man with two heads can get into an argument with himself about his own bigotry and at the same time set his differences aside and compete in a dirt bike race. And despite having so many seasoned actors, the performances aren't the greatest. The special effects are kind of silly, even though they were done by one of the greats, Rick Baker. The score isn't one of Blaxploitation's more memorable ones either, even though it was done by the incredible Bongo Band, the group that would go on to create one of the earliest and most popular breakbeats in hip-hop. But that's not the point. So many movies exist simply to entertain us, to allow the viewer an escape from the hard truths of the real world. As a society, we've got a lot of those hard truths that we try to distract ourselves from. Whether in 1972, 2011, or 2017, it's nice when those distractions don't let us escape for too long. That's my outshot.
Ray Milland and Rosie Greer as The Thing with Two Heads.
You get some sleep, baby.
Why don't you stay here for a little while?
It's no use, honey. Maybe when I get used to it.
Now you know you got to go.